Now you say, okay, actor can be replaced in AI. Do you believe so? The term we use to make something look realistic, for example, a human's face, right? I mean, it's always asymmetric. The expert will say, you know what, the fur is okay, but you know what, the layout, what you've done on the face is not, convincing.
Hi, I'm Kavya Chawali, and welcome to this episode on the Ungyan podcast by Arena Animation, जहाँ पे हम बातें करेंगे about the dynamic world of gaming, animation, VFX, and extended reality, where we build genuine connections with our guests and avoid the pitfalls of preachiness. Our conversations are going to bring you unique perspectives and experiences from this vibrant industry. Storytelling se lekar character design. Let's get to explore the various processes behind the magic. In this episode, we have Prashant Nair, CG Supervisor at Frame Store. From seamless visual effects to stunning animations, Prashant ne ensure kiya hai that there is top-tier quality and precision in every frame. We will get to know about how technology and creativity come together to bring digital worlds to life. So firstly, thank you so much, Prashant, for joining us at the Ungyan podcast presented by Arena Animation. मैं start करूंगी not just with first question or one, but with two questions.
Okay.
पहला तो ये है, I'm sure my viewers want to know, what does a CG supervisor really do? Number one. And what's the difference between CG and VFX?
Thanks, Kavya. It's nice to be here, and I'm really proud to be part of this Ungyan session. So yeah, I'm the CG supervisor, as you mentioned, and CG supervisor in VFX is the computer graphics supervisor who oversees everything technical and creative in visual effects. So all departments like modeling, digital modeling, texturing, matte painting, camera tracking, body tracking, lighting departments, rigging, which kind of basically deals with setting up all the skeletal structure inside those models, and animation. I hope I'm not left anyone, but yeah. So making sure I kind of take care of everything of these departments so that everything flows from upstream to downstream departments seamlessly. You can also say that we are like the Swiss Army knives who are able to kind of solve issues and help and guide the artists to kind of, achieve their kind of final renders and their task within given time and with the required quality.
Wow, that's quite a task there if I look at it. And you know the kind of departments that you've mentioned, Prashant. Or agar departments ki baat ki jaye, to one thing that we know that as a CG supervisor, there's one keyword which is collaboration.
Yeah.
You need to collaborate with a lot of other departments as well. So how is it that you manage to collaborate with the other departments to give that cohesive result? And how is it that they help in maintaining that visual style?
Creative and collaborative thinking is heart of what we do basically. So once we get the script and we understand what the director is looking at or he wants to kind of achieve, we kind of sit with the key stakeholders of the department and tell them, okay, this is what visuals we need to create. This is the kind of visual effects, what would add value to the script, what would make the scenes or shots looks much more better and more convincing. And again, we kind of go with the flow. We don't add anything which is just not part of the story. So basically, once everybody's on the board, we make sure that we work alongside the production team, which is really important because with visuals, it's also important that we kind of deliver in time, right?
Right.
There's a timeline attached to it. There's a budget attached to it. Yeah.
So, Prashant, this looks very interesting.
Yeah.
But for a layman like me, if you can explain this entire process, taking an example or taking a scene from a movie. Yeah.
Right. So just to kind of give you a very, raw example, I think as you and me are sitting here, I had no clue what questions you'll be asking me and how we will kind of go about shooting all this thing because I think this is probably the first time I'm doing it. So you kind of tell me, okay, this is the kind of lineup of questions. This is what the kind of audience. So basically setting up expectations, we'll have to make sure that, okay, this is the visuals, this is the kind of target audience, and this is the kind of plot or what the director has in mind. So we'll make sure that we are in sync with what the director wants, and then we make it a lot easier for the departments, creative departments, like, okay, model needs to be like that, or there is, for example, we're sitting here in some mystical palatial building, everything will be kind of just replaced. For example, if there's a green screen there, okay, so what should be behind? Like, if there will be creatures walking around us, also kind of being interviewed, so what needs to be kind of there? I mean, so that's something which every department will be contributing to making this scene shot successfully. And once this is shot as a green screen and then given to our digital artist, they will replace and fill in all the required elements, and the final render output, which the compositors will all put it together, will look like as if, Kavya and Prashant is actually being, interviewed in some mystical place. I like, wow, looks amazing, and there's some cute little, animals or kind of creatures or aliens kind of sitting around and, being interviewed as well. So we make it a lot simpler for the artist to kind of get to that quality.
So now that we're actually going to the entire technique behind it, let me also ask you as to ये जो process होता है to translate 2D concept art into 3D models. अगर आप हमें explain कर सकते हैं with regard to the storyboard or for that matter mood boarding and क्या-क्या environments होते हैं in the world of CG. If you can explain us a little more about translating 2D concept art into 3D models.
Okay, so basically, like I said, sometimes some clients, some directors are able to kind of give us some visuals at a very early stage. Some don't. They just kind of explain by, okay, they want this, they want that. They will kind of just give us something in text. So we kind of, if not given, we have departments, like we have our in-house departments called Frame Store Pre-Production Services, which is the FPS, and then we have previous artists. So basically their job is to kind of convert these text and the briefs to visuals.
Okay.
Right? So they kind of do these quick sketches, they kind of do these concepts. They will create a creature, for example, I just mentioned it could be, anything which probably from a paleontology time, existed, then what's the kind of ecosystem, right? When you're doing a creature, you're not just doing it, it will not be standing here in this place. It has to be somewhere in that era where the trees were different, the leaves were different, You never know, because all we know is through whatever, Wikipedia information gives you, or some sort of a sketch or a kind of a representation of some artist who would have done that.
Right.
So our job is to make sure that we turn those scripts and briefs to visuals, and when those key sketches are done, when that's been kind of approved by whoever the director is or whoever the kind of the design expert is, they say, okay, this visual looks fine, and then we move on to the next stage. So we kind of color it, 3D render it. We have artists who kind of give us kind of almost like a 3D output version with 2D integrated visuals, like how हम लोग Photoshop में जैसे करते हैं, इधर-उधर मिशमैश करके, वैसे. तो हम लोग, we're not spending too much time, involving all the production, because time is involved and budget is involved. These people have the kind of expertise to make sure that, okay, वो एक 2D को कैसे 3D look देके अपने director के सामने present करेंगे, and then when he's fine, he's okay with the look, and then we move on, say, okay, this is a signed off, creature for this particular episode of whatever film. Let's move on with the other department. So that's when we take that as the cue and say, okay, this is what we need to create.
Right.
For all the departments, starting from modeling, they will model it. Then the texture reference is there, the color is there, color scheme is there, color palette is there. Then there is a texture, fur reference. Fur is like, whatever, fur coat, whether it was kind of a part of some snowy region, so thick fur, or a short coat, depending on where it was. So we, like you said, we need to know the ecosystem where it was.
I want to come to a question which is also very close to my heart, क्योंकि यहाँ पे जब हम the entire industry के बारे में बात कर रहे हैं, you yourself have studied in Agra, born and brought up in Agra till your 10th standard before you moved to Bangalore.
Yeah.
I come from a small town called Kakinada, for that matter.
Okay.
And when we look at people from tier 2 and tier 3, now I can tell you from my industry how people look at it, but I would love to know from you, Prashant, कि tier 2, tier 3 वाले जो होते हैं, how do they look at animation, audio visuals? How do they look at this industry? And how do you think it's become better now? The awareness is way better than it was when you started off.
Way better, matlab you're making me sound very old.
At least 10 years.
No, I think more than that. I would say I moved, thanks for mentioning that, and I think that's a real valid point, and all the audience here, especially from tier 2 and tier 3 cities, I think I mean nothing should stop them from kind of achieving they want to do. I mean, taking my example, I mean, I was fortunate enough that my parents supported me. I was not the best in my studies, and so basically in '94 I moved to Agra, from Agra to Bangalore, because I mean, I got to know that there was a very nice fancy college in Bangalore,
Which
Fine
is?
Arts, which is the Karnataka Chitrakala Parishad.
Oh, yes.
I don't know if you've been there. I mean, the day I went, I was like, wow, I need to be in this college. It looked like very arty college, nice. I asked my dad to wait at the gate, please. So yeah, I mean, once you have that strong goal in your mind that you need to do something. I would say, while I was in school, I mean, I was so awed and inspired by some, many English films and all that. Just taking examples of, like, for example, the Terminator 1, which I don't know, many of you would have seen that. It was a 1984 release. The Terminator 1, I was like, wow, I mean, how did they even make that thing, make Arnold look like that, and, wonderful visuals. I had no clue what a storyboard was, and you will be surprised that I did a storyboard for myself. I made a small comic, I did the storyboard, and those days, for example, for He-Man and all that I used to watch, I wanted those models, but it was expensive back then, and what I would do is take some atta from my mom, and actually I would model those models, like, but they wouldn't move, but they would be like, like that. I mean,
No.
but I was like, wow, okay, I modeled something like, so, and looking at all these, I mean, I made sure that I kind of practiced a lot of art, because that was something which I was really good at. I started sketching, drawing at the age of 2 or 3,
Wow.
right? I think, and then I kept doing that, and and I was fortunate enough to come to Bangalore for Fine Art College, spent 5 years there, and then while I was in college, again, I mean, I wanted to kind of learn new things and make sure that, okay, what can I do with art? Like, where all can I kind of, what are the kind of career opportunities, what I can do, I'm sure I wanted to get somewhere where I could do films like that, but that time I had no clue. So started with ad agency, and then, got into CG. CG is like, basically back then, it's like the, the cartoony version of the 3D model which you see, that's CG. And then slowly made my way from mobile games to console games to advertising in visual effects, and then finally here again with visual effects in film.
So when we're talking about tools like AI or AR and VR, and how it has sort of impacted CG production for that matter, do you think it has changed any creative process? Could you tell us a little more about the kind of impact it has had on CG?
I wouldn't say it's had a major impact in the kind of thought process. It's just that many steps have reduced, and so that all that kind of labor and manual work, the times have reduced. So basically, the artists are now tools and techniques to kind of just implement something faster. So for example, earlier, for example, if we have to do a creature, the artist would have to do everything all stage-wise, which will involve all the artists, right from a modeler to a texture artist, to a fur artist. So with kind of previous coming in, they're able to kind of give that representation at a very early stage without kind of involving too many artists, without kind of consuming too much time.
Right.
They're able to kind of present that as the first part or the first look of the character creature.
Wow. So speed has become the name of the game over here.
Absolutely.
That's one big differentiator.
Absolutely.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting.
And also with these tools, we're kind of able to give that immersive experience, that kind of, we are experienced to the directors as well.
Oh, lovely.
So I would say that on the go, the director is able to move the camera, do some staging, But back in those days, we will have to wait for the animators to do it or the layout artists to do it. This, with the help of virtual production, we are able to take calls, finalize those cameras and shots and sequences at a very early stage. But there, he's looking at some block models and things like that, so he can change the props, he can do the staging accordingly. But he's able to see that in the screen. And we're making those decisions as he say, you know what, move that wall away from that thing, and the kind of tool is able to do that.
Wow.
So he kind of finalizes on that camera move, the staging, everything. It really helps us for the storytelling.
And that elevates the entire experience as
Absolutely,
well. Amazing.
absolutely, yeah.
So which is why I wanted to actually ask you next ke VFX or CG की जो industry है, what is the future of this industry, considering that now content is exploding in a very different format, especially with OTT and all. So do you think the future is even brighter, even better, or is it going to be even more competitive? How's it going to be like?
I think all of that, for sure. Better, more challenging, more demanding. And obviously, I think I would also say that touchwood, I think strikes hadn't really helped our studio and the artists for a while, but now it's slowly getting back. Earlier it was the pandemic, then the strike. But touchwood, I think, if things don't change again, and OTT, yes, I mean, it's been a big game changer to everybody. And so, like I said a while ago, at Frame Store here, we have teams, kind of managing these individual projects, like I said. They've been called like Farsight and Go, which kind of mainly caters to how, the kind of game engine is being able to integrate with the VFX to make sure that, we're kind of giving that, the ownership or the kind of, the kind of reins for the director to kind of, do things at a faster pace.
Right.
Make those decisions which will make sure that, we're kind of, not investing too much time, not investing too much money, and not, using too many artists, making those decisions, but at a very early stage, so that, we are very clear with what needs to be done in that short time.
Wow.
So yeah, I mean, it's a good time for VFX, but then again, yeah, we have to see that, कुछ लेबर टाइप काम जो बहुत ही मैनुअल रहता है, वो थोड़ा आर्टिस्ट का काम हल्का कर देगा. But then, I mean, who knew that, back in those days कि calculator किसी का काम, but now we just use it as so hell, I mean, how many of you use it, but it's something like that. It's kind of assisting you. You can kind of take care of those trivial things and focus, put your mind in something which is more kind of required at every level.
Right.
Yeah.
Prashant, you kept mentioning creatures during your conversation. I want to ask you, ऐसा कौन सा creature है that you created that is your favorite, that you worked on, rather, that seems like your favorite? Because you kept mentioning, I'm a little intrigued. Any favorite creature, any favorite part of work that involved a creature that you'd like to share with us?
Well, I would say creature because I come from a modeling background, right? So I started as a modeler. So basically, to be a CG supervisor, like I just mentioned, it's really imperative. It's difficult, but it's really helpful that they have a knowledge of all the departments. There are multiple departments, like I said, they're modeling, who kind of create assets and builds, if I have to make a duplicate of you or a digital double, as we say, who would be just probably taking off from here, a modeler would do it. Yeah. But right now we have scans and LiDARs, which kind of give you that. Back in those days when I started in the industry, it would be probably mid-2000s that me and my team had to work on FIFA players. Okay. And we have to make those characters. Characters as in those players. I always keep saying characters, so that's the terminology we use for visual effects. So, for actor is a character, player is a character. So, you can't imagine, उनकी photos नहीं मिलती थी हमको. तो हमको इंटरनेट में जाके then we have to pick up If you're lucky, we'll get a mug shot, nice, पूरा clear. किसी का तो मतलब वो बीच में प्लेयर में उठा के उसको पिक्सेलेटेड, you take that and you figure out, okay, कहाँ पे उसकी आंखें खत्म हो रही हैं. You'll have to model based on that. Can you just imagine? So, and I saw the transition. We got scans like, wow, what the hell is this? I mean, what will we do as modelers? Wow. If you're getting models like that, what would we do as modelers? I mean, imagine the same situation we went back then.
Right.
Modelers have to move vertices. We call this vertices of a model.
Oh,
okay. Like एक point रहता है. मैं एक point करूँगा तो ये आपका eyebrow पर चला जाएगा. ऐसे model में रहता है. Model is just a gray शेड आपको दिखेगा. उस पर हम लोग फिर टेक्सचर डालते हैं, स्किन का डिटेल्स डालते हैं. तो टू गेट दैट फीचर्स एक मॉडल हम लोग ऐसे वर्टेक्स मूव करते थे. एंड देन वी गॉट अ रेडीमेड स्कैन एंड देन वी गॉट द रेडीमेड टेक्सचर्स विद इट विद द फोटोग्राफी एंड लाइक वाओ एंड लाइक माय गॉड व्हाट्स गोना हैपन एज अ मॉडलर. But then I mean, that's not the end of the world. I mean, your film has different creatures and different things. Your directors are coming with something which doesn't exist. You can't get a model out of that. Now you say, okay, actor can be replaced in AI. Do you believe so? I mean, I don't think so, because no matter how much input or data you put in, he might be able to replicate you to maybe 60% or probably. But those small little mistakes you do, some errors or some glitches, I mean, which is natural.
True.
That will not be captured. Yeah. So, coming back to the creature and character I like, I would say the couple of them. So, from his Dark Materials, which I was part of, it's an episodic based on Dennis Pullman's, novel. The first film was made, which was called The Golden Compass. So if you look at that TV series, the episodics, I mean, there are 3 seasons, I believe, and 2 seasons I worked on. Every kid has a spirit animal to it, which is called a demon. So from that, I mean, we did a lot of creatures, and I think from that I would say something like a wolf, because I like wolf. Yeah, but I mean,
interesting.
Yeah, and there was. Yeah, another one, which is the polar bear. I would say, I mean, I've not seen that realistic polar bear on a TV screen. So for that, I think you should see that, his Dark Materials.
That's going to be in my list along with my viewers as well. We're going to check that out next.
Yes, absolutely.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
There was just so much, the kind of excitement that you have for the industry. It's so clear, it's so evident, aapka jo passion hai for this industry, how it started off and how it's heading. This is where I want to ask you my final question is, aisa ek angyan, any ungyan, not gyan. Gyan to bahut hai around us, but any ungyan that you want to share with people who want to get into the AVGC sector, especially. Any ungyan that you can share with them?
Yeah, for that I would probably refer to a quote from my favorite master artist from Renaissance, Michelangelo. I would just read that out. I mean, trifles make perfection, and perfection is not a trifle. So just to kind of elaborate that, I would say the highlights of anything, it's important if you kind of really focus on the intricate details of anything, right? Though it's intricate and trivial, but you really cannot miss on those trivial details. For us in visual effects, the term we use to make something look realistic, for example, a human's face, right? I mean, it's always asymmetric, right? As a modeler, earlier days, we just do a half and mirror it. Or we had a tool which would say, okay, I tweak this eye, and this eye also gets tweaked because it's mirrored in the x-axis. But it's not the case. I mean, there is slight kind of, twitch or, changes in real life. That's for the face. And it's something which is kind of, natural. Obviously, there is a lot of flaws and undulation and things like that. And there's something which is kind of, human-made or kind of machine-made. They seem to be perfect, right? Yeah. Whether it's an object or a character or any creature, there we kind of make a backstory. We kind of, attach a story to it. Okay, ye animal, ye kind of cat, ghar pe pali hui hai, for example, versus a cat which is kind of, on the roads or in the lane,
Streets, yeah.
दोनों का फर अलग होता है. You know, because they've not been groomed, right? And they're kind of, you know, so those are the kind of, you know, the ecosystem we need to understand. So that's the imperfections I'm talking about, right? So hum log, when we review, we call it daily. So when you're looking at creatures, okay, we kind of, for example, we worked on the film called Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, we created a lot of these creatures. Again, animals. You know, a lot of them were like Groot and other creatures who had a little bit of anthropomorphic, you know, character. They could talk and express. But there's this one dog, sorry, I forgot the name, um, which had to look like a dog. Right? So we will do a A/B and say, you know what? No, that looks CG. Which means कि वो real नहीं लग रहा है. आपको थोड़ा उसको चेंज करना है, ट्विक करना है, थोड़ा ऐसा कैरेक्टर डालना है जो रियल लगेगा. You know, so this table, it doesn't look, it looks CG. Like.
And you never know where one particular moment will inspire you to, you know, sort of apply that
Absolutely.
on a character or, yeah.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, so इसी के साथ, let me come to my favorite segment and we call this the Angyan Shots.
Okay.
My plan is to throw as many shots as possible at you and you'll have to, in a more rapid manner, come back with your answer. And of course, it's got to do with your tastes, your choices. So this is going to be one of my favorite and cool segments. So Prashant, are you ready?
Yes, I'm ready.
Super.
Do I feel nervous a little bit? I mean...
No. You look ever ready already for this segment.
All right, okay.
Okay, so my first question coming up to you is, if you could go back in time
Yeah.
and give advice to your younger self, what is that one piece of advice you'd like to give?
How many years back?
Let's say maybe when you were 15 years old.
Oh, wow. Let's take it 16. I was in college. Or probably 17 when I had just entered college. Wow, that will be amazing. I mean, I would probably spend some time and go to some disc and all that because those days I was like really good at breakdancing. I mean, I couldn't do it now.
But you were in Bangalore anyways, no? Around that time.
I was in Bangalore.
So the right place, no?
Yeah, right place. So there's no kind of moving location. So it was fine. Yeah, I mean, I would definitely go partying with him, you know, watch him dance and try to do something. I mean, that was... Because those days, I mean, life was completely different. Like, you know, I mean, so I would say, you know, do what you're doing, boy. I would say just, you know, just keep practicing what is important to you. Like, I mean, you love art, you know, stay focused, just keep practicing. Don't ever kind of leave that because that's something which is your calling, right? And stay focused and, you know, and then enjoy your life. I mean, this is the time you want to enjoy and probably we'll meet again for the next round of advice in whatever, 10 years. Yeah, I think that's it probably.
How cool.
Cool. I mean, yeah, and then just do everything in moderation.
Yes.
That's important. That's really important because then I'll have to suffer right now, which is probably I'm suffering now. I mean, I don't blame him.
But that's a cool advice there. Like, you know, go do that breakdancing, break into a jig,
Exactly.
do your bit, but also, you know, be passionate about what you're doing, which is
Absolutely.
what you did, in fact, over the last so many years.
Yes, so many years.
Yes, so many years.
Yeah.
But my next question is, everybody has a guilty pleasure. But if I would ask you your guilty pleasure, go to film.
But I would just say Ace Ventura.
Yes.
I mean, I can watch it many times. I love that movie. Have you watched it?
Of course, like gazillion times.
Yes.
Oof. We love that detective, the pet detective.
Absolutely.
Yes. Again, more creatures out there as well.
Yes.
And I too love it. Yeah. Amazing, amazing. So you said Ace Ventura. Any other guilty pleasure movie, or that's your number one, or at least that's your...
Hangover.
Perfect.
And then Bloodsport. I don't know if you watched it.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Oh, this is so good. This is
Yeah.
so good to just recollect these movies. And yes, one of my favorites as well. And I'm sure even our viewers
Which
will
is
agree.
yours, if I may just ask?
Actually,
Sorry.
Hangover was right
Yeah?
up there. But
Okay.
I'm more of a True Lies and Terminator fan.
Terminator I mentioned. So,
Yes,
yeah.
you did. So I know.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, it would always be True Lies. And yes, Kung Fu Panda. I'm like, that's my spirit animal. It's a panda.
Wonderful.
So yes.
Yeah.
All right, let me now come to something very interesting, which is if you could use CGI to change one everyday object, just one object, which object would you transform? And what would you transform it into using CGI?
can I slightly twist that a little bit? I would probably take inspiration from Wallace and Gromit. I don't know if you've seen that. It's claymation. If you happen to see, it's nice. So basically, he had these contraptions where he could do everything, make him get up, or make his dog do certain things, daily chores. So I would probably do these contraptions to kind of, do all these boring tasks like, okay, trim my hair, trim my beard, sorry. I don't want to, make sure he messes my hair. But yeah, these kind of little things probably give me a coffee or a tea on my bed. So yeah, something like that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, that sounds like fun.
Yeah,
That's
taking care of all these daily boring chores, yeah.
Yeah, why not? Oh, this sounds like fun, and this sounds like a wish list on literally everyone's
Yeah,
mind
but
right now.
I think you should really watch it. That's really creative. The other one is like Roadrunner, if you've seen
Yes,
it.
Roadrunner.
How many times you lay out that plan, it never works.
Oh my God.
I don't want to try that because it never works. Wallace and Gromit always works, yeah.
Interesting. So that's going to be on my list next. So Prashant, let me try imagining you that you're making like one entry. When you make that entry, walking, what do you think could be a theme song that is befitting for that entry? What's the theme song?
I think this is one song I really love. I mean, it's just a Hindi song. I don't know if you would remember. I'm a big fan of Kishore Kumar. Ye Jawani Hai Diwani.
Oh,
I mean, it's like a very happy, charged up song,
That's a super track. And Kishoda in his element. That's
I mean, the way
a
he
great
sings it, like, full energy.
Yeah.
I mean, his character itself was like
Supercharged.
a huge
Supercharged. Okay, so I spoke about my favorite spirit animal, but Prashant, I would love to know your favorite spirit animal in the world of VFX.
It's not there probably, or I don't know, I can't recall. I would love to be associated with like a Black Panther. I just love the beauty of that animal. It's kind of stealthy, very agile. You can hardly spot, but very fearsome as well. So yeah.
Black Panther it is.
Yes.
Oof. That's a good one. That's a good one there, Prashant.
Thank you.
Interesting. All right. One final message to the viewers. I know it's not going to be an advice because here at Ungyan, we don't want to give Gyan, but one quick message you want to give to the viewers.
Just take it easy, but just kind of keep practicing what you really feel is kind of motivating you and keeping you happy. Well, that's something, and don't get intimidated with. For example, I just said that I am a CG supervisor now, but then I've been in this industry for, I think, 23 years. I started as a modeler, and then I moved, at regular intervals to make sure that I was like a technical director. So it's not that I'm asking you to kind of, do that. You could be an animator, for example, but then make sure that you really kind of do a thorough research of what is the industry trend, right? Whether it's a kind of a cartoony movie you're into, fine. Or if you want to get into something which is kind of VFX or more real, absolutely fine. But then you need to understand what is in trend, how do you kind of get those expertise in terms of making quadrupedal, four-legged animals walk or stand, like how we do in certain films like that, and understand the fundamentals. Showcase your work in forums where you could actually get some advice or feedbacks from experts of the industry. Attend these events. We keep having these events on and off. I was just part of an event recently. And then, I get to meet these aspiring artists who kind of want to explore things, but they kind of stuck somewhere. So, find out answers, or there is everything available online right now. But then again, it could be, overwhelming and they could be even kind of, not giving you the right direction. But at the same time, you just have to practice a lot. Make a show reel if you want to get into this industry. That is very important. Right? When you want to get into an industry, obviously, if you're aiming to enter an industry which is kind of really doing Hollywood films and all that, but you'll have to start from scratch, or you'll have to probably start from a smaller industry, do some kind of CG work, cartoon work, and then make your way through. Because in our industry, I would say, we have beginners, we have runners who have made their way all through to the top of hierarchy.
Beautiful. I think that was just what our viewers would have loved to hear, because all the doubts that our viewers get to have is like, you become a CG supervisor now, but you started off as a modeler.
Yeah.
It's so good to see that journey. And on that note, Prashant, I want to thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being part of our podcast.
It was lovely being here. I really enjoyed every bit of it.
Likewise.
Looking forward to more of these.
I look forward to as well. And as promised,
you.
maybe the next would be a sing-song and breakdance in a Black Panther style. But thank you, Prashant, for being a sport. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much.
So thanks for tuning into this episode of the Angyan podcast by Arena Animation, जहां पर प्रशांत नायर ने शेयर किया expertise in CG and VFX production. Catch the episode on YouTube or stream it on Spotify or your favorite podcast app.